Anna Fox is a child psychologist, but she is also an agoraphobic woman who lives in her secluded New York apartment. She is separated from her husband, but both of them talk over call regularly, and her daughter lives with him as well. She tells him that there is a new family who has moved into the neighborhood, and she's keeping a close eye on them. Anna is having a session with her psychologist, and she tells him that the new family Russells have no information on the internet about them. She also has the habit of snooping on the neighbors, which the therapist does not condone. The therapist says that he will give her medicine when he thinks that she is stable, as she tried to commit suicide once before. Anna indulges in heavy drinking during her free time. One night, her doorbell rings. She checks and sees that it's Ethan Russell who has come there with a welcoming present from his mom. Anna is hesitant, but he looks like a really nice kid, so she lets him in. They start chatting and soon become friendly, but Anna notices some disturbance in him and asks him about it. He says that he can see her house from his room. He looks over there and sees his father standing, which seems to really disturb him. Anna figures that Ethan has a strained relationship with his father, so she extends an olive branch and says that he can come to her whenever he wants, and they are friends. Anna also has a tenant named David who helps her with her day-to-day work. He says that she should get some candies as it is Halloween night, but she says that she would turn the lights off and pretend that she is not home. At night, Anna hears a lot of commotion coming from outside. She checks and sees that kids are throwing eggs at her house. She decides to go outside to put an end to it, but she has a panic attack the moment she tries to open the door. But just then a woman comes towards her and she faints. When she opens her eyes, she sees that the woman is tending to her and making sure that she is all right. She figures that the woman might be Jane Russell, Ethan's mom. They start to chat, and Anna shares about her condition. While chatting, Anna starts to click pictures of her cat Punch. She talks to Jane about Ethan, and Jane says that Ethan means the most to her in this world. Anna notices her earrings and compliments her on them. Jane reveals that her husband is a really controlling guy, and she is worried about Ethan as he is not taking it very well. She then shows Anna a picture that she has drawn. The evening ends, and Jane goes back to her own house. Later that night, Alastair Russell comes to her house and asks if any of his family members has been to her place in the evening. She lies and says that nobody came and she has been alone. Anna gets up from her sleep, hearing some commotion coming from the basement. She calls 911 and goes to check there, but finds out that it's David. David says that he was looking for a toolbox as he is helping the neighbors with some work. Upon asking, David reveals that the neighbors that he's helping are no one else but Russells. One evening, as she's taking a shower, she hears a woman scream. She goes to check and finds that it is Jane who just got out of the house crying. She calls them, and Ethan picks up the phone, but he is also crying and cuts the call. She then calls Alastair, but he says that she is wrong and that he and Ethan are the only people in their house. She takes out a camera and starts to look at their house. She goes to David to make sure that she was not wrong, but David says that he also did not hear any noise. David also has a woman with him who is crying, but she does not pay any attention to it. She looks at Russells with her camera and finds Ethan arguing with his father. She then sees Ethan leave the house and come towards her. Ethan gets inside her house and says that everything is all right, but his father was just frustrated, so he was taking out his aggression. Anna says that it is not right and gives him her number so he can call her if he senses any danger. She talks to her husband and says that she's thinking about calling the CPS, but he asks her not to. She finds David leaving to go somewhere. The next couple of days, she indulges in heavy drinking and completely loses control. At night, she notices Jane arguing with someone. She takes out her camera to have a clearer vision of the scenario. She sees Jane having a huge argument with someone, but suddenly she gets stabbed. Anna immediately calls 911 to report the incident, but the operator keeps on asking ridiculous questions. Suddenly, Jane comes to the window and asks for help. She decides to take matters into her own hands, takes out an umbrella, and leaves the house. But before she can get to that place, a car comes towards her and she faints. She wakes up and finds two detectives in her house. Suddenly, she notices that Alastair is there with them as well. She says that Jane was stabbed, but the detective confirms that everything is all right. Suddenly, a completely different woman comes there and claims to be Jane, leaving Anna perplexed. Ethan also comes there and corroborates the story and says that the woman is his mother. The Russells leave the house, but Detective Little seems to be sympathetic towards her and says that she can call him anytime she needs. She is not convinced by their resolution, so in the next couple of days, she starts to look up the Russell online. She manages to find Alastair and calls his office, but they inform her that he was transferred to Boston and there were some underlying issues there. She digs deep and finds that Alastair is also related to a woman's death who happened to be his co-worker. The victim's name was Pamela, and she calls the old office office and finds that Pamela fell from the 6th floor of the building and died. Pamela was Alistair's assistant, and after her death, he moved to Brooklyn. She goes to David's place and finds a bunch of mail from NYPD. David comes there at that moment and loses his shit seeing Anna going through his mail. He says that he was involved in a bar fight, and that is why he is on parole, but she has no business being that snoopy. She apologizes and says that it will never happen again, but she grows suspicious of him as well. She starts to look into Alistair's place and clicks their pictures. But suddenly she gets a call, and it's Jane asking her not to look into the house. The next morning, she again goes to David's place to look for her cat, but she finds an earring lying on his bedside table and remembers that it belongs to the real Jane. She now thinks that David had something to do with it and tells her husband about it, but he says that she is delusional and the medicines and alcohol are taking a toll on her. She finds Ethan walking and asks him to come inside. He does so, and she keeps on asking him about why he is lying. But Ethan says that he cannot reveal the truth. At that moment, Alistair comes there and slaps Ethan and kicks him out. He then threatens Anna and says that she is messing with the wrong family and she will have to pay a huge price for it. One day, she sees Ethan being sent to rehab. She starts to go on with her life and tries to forget about it, but finds the drawing that Jane made and is sure that she is not delusional. One night, she is playing with her cat when she receives an email, and it consists of a picture of her sleeping, which scares her. She calls the detectives and tells them that she was asleep when the picture was taken, which means someone has been in her home. But the detective says that they have scanned the entire house and there are no signs of a break-in. Suddenly, the Russells come to her place, and Alistair says that she is trying to have an inappropriate relationship with Ethan. Anna retaliates and says that he saw Alistair slap Ethan and he is an abusive father. She also says that she has the picture that Jane drew, but the other Jane is standing there and no one believes the story. At that moment, David comes there. The detective starts to ask him questions, and he reveals that he was out of town. Anna snitches on him and says that she saw the earring on his bedside table. David says that it belonged to a woman named Catherine who spent the night with him. He also says that Anna has the habit of going to his place without his consent. Anna says that he is on parole and he was charged with assault, so he is a suspect as well. But seeing her throwing accusations at everyone, no one believes her. She cries in agony and says that if her husband was there, he would have listened to her. But at that moment, the detectives reveal that both her husband and daughter are dead. We go to a flashback where Anna is driving with her husband and her daughter through a snowy mountain. Her husband says that he cannot pretend to be in a happy relationship because Anna cheated on him. At that moment, she gets a call, and her husband thinks that it's from her lover. They get into a little scuffle, and he drops her phone. She tries to pick up the phone, but accidentally drives off a cliff. When she got back in her senses, she found her entire family dead, and due to no service being available, she could not even contact anyone for help. Back to the present, Detective Little says that he spoke to her psychologist, and he revealed that her meds can cause hallucinations. He also checked Jane's background and found out that she is the real Jane. Anna then apologizes to everyone and says that she was wrong all along and she would not continue harassing other people anymore. The next morning, she is having a session with her doctor. She reveals that she is in a very dark space and wants to turn her life and is willing to do whatever it takes. She also says that David is leaving the apartment, so she would be alone from now on. Later, she takes out all her medicines that she has and makes a concoction out of it. She then records a suicide note and says that no one is to be blamed for her demise. She then starts to go through her gallery looking at old pictures. Suddenly, her eyes get stuck on something, and she immediately goes to fetch her laptop. It's a picture of her cat that she took that evening, but the surprise is that there is a reflection in the wine glass of the woman that was there that evening. She is relieved to know that she is not delusional and that what she saw was true. At that moment, David comes to collect his staff, and Anna requests him to come up. She shows him the picture and says it is that woman who spent the evening with her. But David reveals that it is Catherine, and she also spent the night with him. He says that she was Ethan's birth mother, but she ran away when Ethan was just 8 months old. She is a drug addict who kept on coming back to claim Ethan, but Alistair grew so scared that he took him and left the city. Anna then remembers that Catherine never confirmed that her name is Jane. She just said that she is Ethan's mother. She tells David that Catherine was killed and Alistair did it, and they need to go to the police to report it. But David does not believe her bullshit and leaves from there. Suddenly, she hears a thudding noise coming from downstairs. She is scared and goes to check, but Ethan comes there out of nowhere with a knife in his hand. He says that he was sent to a rehab, but he broke out of it. He killed David, because he slept with his mother. He then says that he's going to pin this on Anna and she will go to jail for it. He reveals that he stole her house keys the first time he came, and for the past week, he's been hiding in her house. Anna figures that he is the one who killed his mother, Catherine. He says that she and his mother both had only one job to do, which was to protect their child, but they failed to do so. He says that he was really close with Pam, but she grew sick of him, so he killed her as well. His father figured out what a monster he was and ran away from the city to protect. He then asked her to take the pills and commits suicide as he gets pleasure from seeing people die. Anna agrees to it and puts the powder in her wine, but suddenly she hits Ethan with the wine bottle and knocks him out. She tries to run away, and David grabs Ethan as he's still alive, but Ethan soon kills him as well. They get into a huge scuffle, but Anna somehow manages to get to her terrace, and Ethan follows. She thinks that she has managed to trick him, but Ethan comes there and jabs her with a garden screw on her face. He then puts her on the ground and starts to choke her. She again manages to escape him and drags him on the skylight. She then pushes him on top of it, and he breaks it and falls to his death. Anna wakes up in the hospital, and Detective Little is there as well. He says that they have the Russells under custody, and Jane has revealed everything. They have also recovered Catherine's body, and it is proof enough to establish that all Anna said was true, and he is truly apologetic for it. He then gives her the phone and says that she should delete her suicide note before anyone gets a hold of it, and she gets in more trouble. But Anna reassures him and says that she's going to live from now on. It's been a couple of months since the incident, and Anna has recovered completely. She has sold her house and takes Punch with her. She leaves the house in hopes of starting a new life. So this was the recap of the 2021 movie The Woman in the Window. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and check out our other videos as well.